new breed of young entrepreneurs have made the decision to take their destinies in their hands. They are determined to not only improve their lives, but to also positively impact the lives of others. With a burning determination to succeed, they are establishing businesses in diverse sectors of the Nigerian economy, including the media, information technology, entertainment, and manufacturing. This series examines their journey to imminent success. Welcome to the Future Force. Otu Njama is the principal partner of Otu Njama III Films, a movie production company. Born in Calabar, Cross River State, he studied philosophy at the University of Calabar. Otu has always been a movie critic, and his regular analysis made watching movies an annoying experience for his family.
I was one of those consumers that got fed up with the way things were done in Nollywood very early in life. Over 10 years ago, I just started getting fed up with the way things were done. And in my family, when they want to watch a movie, they make sure I'm not home, because for every scene they watch, I always find one fault or the other. I'm always criticizing one thing, either the light is wrong or something. So they just never enjoyed watching a decent Nollywood movie when I was around. I think a certain day, if I remember correctly, my mom was trying to watch a particular film, and I kept ranting about how the film was badly produced and stuff. And she said to me, "Otu, allow me enjoy this film. If you think you're this good at making movies, or if you're this good at correcting people's films, why not go ahead and make your movie?" Then it struck me that that was my exact passion, or rather that was my exact talent, making movies. But then, growing up in a family which I grew up, my dad was a disciplinarian, and he's one of those that believe that show business should actually rather be a hobby or a pleasant pastime, not a career. So I wouldn't even think of going into filmmaking at the point. So I just focused on my trying to do what every other regular guy then was doing, which is get admission to the university, study a professional course, quote unquote, and do your thing. So basically that was the starting point for me when I realized, okay, filmmaking was my thing.
Right from childhood, Otu had always liked pictures. But it was when he got into the university that he actually got his first experience behind the camera. With no formal training and not enough money to buy his own equipment, he had to learn on his own. While Otu explored his passion for TV production, his father and teachers saw this as a distraction.
I had always loved cameras. I remember when I was a kid, I think I must have been 5 when I bought my first toy, and it was a camera. You know that pinhole thing where you slot in negatives and you click? I was fascinated with pictures because I thought the most fascinating thing is capturing a particular moment and being able to look at it moment afterwards. It blew my mind. So at every point in time in my life, I always was able to save up some amount of money to buy one particular kind of camera my money could afford at every point. But when it comes to doing something professional, like doing the film, or doing video, it just wasn't any kind of camera. And then I needed more than money for camera, so it was a problem trying to get funding for that, because I was just in school and I had only my pocket money to play with. So a certain day in my sophomore year, I was invited to a particular church, and one of the things that struck me while the pastor was preaching was they had a digital camera which they used to transmit messages down to the people that came late and were actually downstairs. And I said to myself, the only way I could lay hands on this camera was if I was a member of this church. And to be a member of this church, I had to get born again. So when it was time for altar call, I opted. I think I was like the first person that took up my hand and said, okay, hey, I need to get born again so I could have access to this camera. I hope I wasn't an opportunist by so doing. In any case, I got born again. When I went to the foundation class and they said, okay, choose the department you actually want to function in church. Obviously, I went to technical department. So one thing led to the other, and I became the church's official cameraman. So that was how it all started. I really wanted to go pro, but it was a problem because to go pro, you need funds, and the funds wasn't coming. Plus, my dad realized that the whole video thing was taking a better part of my time, my academic time, and that was something he never wanted to play about because he had a plan for my life, so to speak, but unknown to him, I actually had a better plan for my life. You know, my tutors in school then used to say, Njama, you are a first class material, but you're highly distracted with this your camera work. They actually used to call me producer back in school, but whenever they said producer, I heard sarcasm in their voice because they're actually trying to mock me, thinking I wasn't being serious with academics. I really wanted to go to film school badly, but I didn't have the funds to do so. And my dad was totally against my film thingy at this point in time because he began to understand that it was no longer a passion thing, which he thought it was, or a pleasant pastime. He began to realize it was a full-time career, and he really had issues with my industry at that time, talking about the entertainment industry, because he belonged to the school of thought that actually think show business are actually for the dregs of the society or the never do wells. Mind you, this was many years back when it wasn't as glamorous as it is now, so you might actually excuse his ignorance, quote unquote. My dad did something I didn't really like, and to make it up to me, he figured the best way to make it up to me was to send me to film school, so he paid for my tuition. It was more like a bribe, but I mean it was a good bribe, so I took it and I went to NFI Jos. I studied cinematography and directing. It really helped me a lot because amongst other things I learned the business aspect of filmmaking. I learned the business aspect of entertainment because I was told it's show business. So no matter what we do, we need to look at the business aspect of it. Plus the networking, I had to meet other colleagues, I had to meet other aspiring filmmakers of like minds, and we bonded, we shared ideas, and it was basically a fun time. And that was when my professional aspect of filmmaking actually started in 2008.
His first opportunity to do a professional job came when a client asked him to produce a wedding video. In his eagerness to get the job, he charged a fee that could barely see him complete the production.
The first job I ever had, which was my own job, was to cover a wedding for some guy. Well, I actually bragged that I was able to do my stuff, but this was the first job I was about to get. So I was eager about, handling it. So I undercosted. I think I charged him about 10,000 naira or thereabouts, some very ridiculous amount I can't really remember. I gave him that amount, bearing it in mind that I knew I could lay hands on a free camera. So I didn't bother to give him so much of the cost so as not to scare him away. But like I said, I couldn't edit at that point. So when I went back to my editor, the most wasn't enough to see me through the entire production. So I had issues. I couldn't deliver that job on time.
Otu attended film school and finally got formal training in film production. From interaction with his colleagues, he realized that if he actually wanted to make an impact in his new career, he had to leave Calabar and move to Lagos, Nigeria's economic capital.
The experience in film school, I met lots of other aspiring filmmakers. Some came from Lagos, some were residents of Jos, some came from different parts of Nigeria, and we shared experience. And I got to understand that, Lagos was the hub of entertainment in Africa. And growing up in a city like Calabar, there was actually limited opportunity in Calabar because it was just the one sector-driven economy. So it was a civil service-driven economy. So I thought, okay, I'm a filmmaker. Hey, the market is in Lagos. There's a demand, there's a supply. There's the resources to finance my project and stuff in Lagos. So like every other one that had the dream, I had to move down to Lagos from Calabar. That was sometime end of 2008.
An encounter with a group of American musicians led Otu into the world of music video production and short films.
I did the job way back in 2007 when I was still in Calabar for some guys called Third World Commission. They're actually based in America. They are African-American rappers, a collection of African-American rappers from different African countries, but they reside in Maryland in America, in the United States of America. They had a song with Sauce Kid called Africa Sings, which they recorded back in Los Angeles. So when they came to Nigeria to perform in Calabar during the Calabar Xmas Festival, we met, I showed them a few of my stuff and they liked it. And they said, okay, let's just do something while they were around. So I shot a couple of videos for them. When they took it back to America, Sauce Kid came across it and saw it. So when he came to Nigeria, we hooked up through social media and we got talking. one thing led to another, and we started working together. So we went to a few places together. We shot the videos in Dubai, a song off his mixtape called Ogele Boys. It was a fun moment. We had stuff. So I actually have a few music video jobs to my credit, a few documentaries, and my favorite, my 1-minute short film called Change, which I'm really, really proud of. It's a 1-minute short film, 60-second short film, which I did. But I really didn't get that satisfaction as a filmmaker. Because I think a filmmaker without the film to his credit is worse off than a practicing lawyer who's never won a case. I just think there's that fulfillment that doesn't come with doing your own film. So I began to yearn to do a feature film with my name to its credit. But the challenge was enormous. Most of it was finance. But I just started working on the screenplay anyways. On a certain day, I decided to take the bold step of getting to meet an agent to find out if I could get a decent place, because I was under pressure to move out of the part of town where I was. It wasn't so comforting at the point. I really didn't have that much money on me, but I just decided to take a step of faith and say, okay, you know what, let me just go try, because I was fed up with my area. Now, he brought out a list of options to me, but one of the major issues was all the rents were in 2 years asking. You know how these Lagos landlords are. So I was like, how come everybody's asking for 2 years rent? Like, are they in a hurry? Are they going to die soon? Why do they keep asking for 2 years rent? And he now said, you know what, I actually have a deal, an offer you might like. There's a lady, she just rented a 2-bedroom flat and she needs a housemate. She's a lady, would you mind sharing a flat with the lady? And then, I didn't have a girlfriend then, and it sounded really inviting, sharing a flat with a lady. A single guy sharing a flat with a lady. So I said, okay, you know what, sounds nice. How much is she asking for? He said, he called a particular price that was friendly, to what I have or what I had. It was almost within the range of what I was expecting to pay for an apartment. So alas, we set out to go check out this house, quote and unquote. And when I got to the apartment, I realized that the lady in question was actually a 75-year-old widow. So I was like, come again. When you said lady, was this the lady you were referring to, or there's another lady inside? They said, well, I'm sorry, I missed out on that tiny details. And I was like, no, that was all the detail I needed. Like, who lives with a 75-year-old woman? But while we were talking, and he was trying to convince me on the advantages of moving in with this woman, the free light, the free water, she's just asking for a token, 100,000 naira, moving. It dawned on me that this was the story I actually needed to write about. So I told him, I said, okay, you know what, I'm going to get back to you. I never did. I went back to my apartment where I was, and within 2 weeks, I came up with a screenplay about a guy, a filmmaker, that had issues of accommodation and needed a place, and blah, 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 blah. So I came up with a name for the film called The Flatmate. I met this certain lady. We got talking, and it turns out she and her younger sister were in need of a decent screenplay to produce. And I had just written my screenplay. So when I discussed with her, she liked the idea. She thought it was an original story. And she said, okay, let's work on something. And before you know it, we bonded almost immediately. We started working on the modalities for the film, and we shot The Flatmate sometime in October last year. And we've been on post-productions ever since. Hopefully sometime in a few weeks' time, it will be out for the public. We'll be talking about that premiere.
Otu's first feature film, The Flatmate, is a story that chronicles the experiences of a young filmmaker forced to cohabit with a 75-year-old widow. It is a joint production between Twice as Nice and Otu N3 Films. While writing the script, Otu decided that he wanted certain actors to play specific roles in the movie.
When I started writing the screenplay, the only person I thought could actually interpret that role of the old woman was Buki Ajayi, because I just couldn't see anyone else in the industry fit that role. So even while I was writing, I was like, God, wherever Auntie Buki is, please keep her alive, hale and hearty, so she could feature in my movie. So while I was writing, I actually did the characterization to fit some of Auntie Buki Ajayi's attributes, because I had seen a couple of her other movies, and I knew the things she could do. She was about the only character I actually wrote the script to fit. Then, of course, the agent whom I thought Kepi Ekpenyong, who happens to be my big brother in the industry, could play. As a matter of fact, it was actually from Kepi's house I left to see the agent, talking about the real story now. So it was only ideal that when I conceived the idea, I went back to him and said, bros, see what's happened today, blah, blah, blah. He loved the idea, he jumped on it. So because it was actually meant to be my first feature-length movie. So he gave me a couple of industry advice on how to go and stuff, and he was really instrumental to the film.
Otu was faced with the challenge of being a first-time director in a full-length movie with little or no financing of his own. He was, however, able to overcome this with the help of experienced actors such as Buki Ajayi, Kepi Ekpenyong Basi, and Charles Billion, as well as the support of his executive production team.
When I started writing, I didn't have the cash to do this film, although I knew I was going to do it. The monies I had, which I initially wanted to use to get my house, was what I turned and started using to finance the project. But along the line, a few funds came in. Then I made my APs, and they happened to actually be industry heavyweights. I'll save their names for much later. They came in, so with their assistance, coupled to my little experience and that of Kepi's, we were able to pull through together. So it was more like a teamwork. It was a collaborative effort. It wasn't just my sole, idea and push. But most importantly, it was God's helping, basically, because I think everything happened at the right time.
Otu sees himself as being part of the global film industry and does not agree that the standards of films made in Nigeria should be any less than its global peers.
I've always seen myself as a global player. I might be a Nigerian, but I don't see myself as a second-class citizen or a second-class individual just because I'm a Nigerian. So when I watch a movie, I expect a filmmaker to present a film from a standpoint of being an international player. Do you get? But what I see is people make movies and say, oh, for instance, if I see something has been done in Hollywood, I wouldn't try to do it because I'm a Nigerian and say, oh, that one was done in America, so we should have a Nigerian version. It doesn't make sense. The world is a global village. I mean, with the coming of stuff like social media, social networks, Facebook and Twitter and BBMs and the rest of them, you find out that we actually interact with the world more often than it used to be many, many years ago. So you can't say, oh, something was done in America, so we can actually do except it's a spoof, where we know, okay, you're actually trying to mimic something, and the idea of the film is you mimicking something that's already been done. So if you're going to do a film on a crashing plane, bear it in mind that there's a movie called Flight, a Hollywood version called Flight. So it's either you're giving us a flight standard or something above flight. You don't do something below flight thinking because you're a Nigerian filmmaker, people will sympathize with you and say, oh, it's done by a Nigerian, so let's take crap. No, because at the end of the day, we are all consumers. I'm a consumer. I watch Nigerian movies a whole lot, and I pay for those movies, whether I'm buying a DVD or I'm going to the cinemas to get a ticket. So I expect to get my money's worth. Now, with that mindset, I ensure that whatever I'm putting out to people is not something second to Hollywood. Now, I probably omitted this, but after I finished film school in Jos, I took a couple of courses in stunt cinematography. So I'm actually a trained stunt cinematographer. But because I know the cost involved in doing a stunt movie now, plus to do a stunt movie, for instance, to do an action film that involves guns, you need to get prop guns. We know the situation in Nigeria now, the whole security crisis, the whole security challenge you're having. Imagine you going to say, okay, you want to import props. You need some serious guts and some serious money in your account. Basically, it needs to be a very big budget production for you to do a proper action movie in Nigeria, where you probably have some assaulting cars, explosions and stuff like that. So until a time when I have such amount of money to do a film like that, I would stick to the regular kind of story that I know I would do and do well, that someone in Hollywood will see and say, this is an original Nigerian story. You get where I'm coming from? That's why I had to stick to the genre which I know it's easy to do, which is drama.
Otu feels that the movie industry in Nigeria has witnessed significant improvement in comparison with his early film critic days. He credits this growth to enhanced distribution channels and a general increase in the level of professionalism in the industry.
There's different angles to look at the Nigerian film industry problem. First of all, it's a mentality problem. Now, when it was founded in the 90s, even from the movies that were made then, the likes of Living in Bondage, Taboo, and the rest of them, you see that those movies were done professionally because those guys knew their onion and they came into it as professionals. But over the last decade, the trend dropped, the quality dropped. The people that came after them actually thought it was a get-rich-quick scheme, so you could just jump into it without really knowing your onions. They were not qualified, they were not exactly professional, they were not well schooled in the discipline they took, but they jumped into it, and we saw that reflect in the kind of movies that were done from the early 2000s up to even late, even recently. Apart from a few exceptions, most of what were done, quote unquote, were not the consumer's money worth. That is trying to choose my language, Now, so the mentality problem was one. Now, another major issue we have in the industry, which is still a big issue, although it's beginning to improve, is the issue of distribution. Let's look at Hollywood, that is the model film industry, which Nigeria and India and the rest of the world actually modeled after. There's a proper distribution channel. So if a producer makes a movie, he's guaranteed returns, over a period of time. Whereas in Nigeria, the trend we have is straight to DVD market, or the trend we had. So when you do your film, you are left to the mercy of the guys at Alaba to decide the fate of your film. Do you get? And since it was a straight to DVD market, people didn't really have much options in terms of returns. It was just, you do your film, it's straight to DVD. So, why spend, well, that was their thinking. Why spend so much money and time in doing a movie that would take, why spend probably 6 to 7 months in doing a film when you can do a film in 2 weeks and get your money back and go back into the same market? So that still was partly part of the mentality. But with the influx of cinemas in Nigeria, the likes of the Silverbirds, Film House, and a couple of other cinemas springing up here and there, the trend is beginning to change. The new group of filmmakers now know, okay, if I actually get money from somewhere to do a film, it's to go into the cinemas for, say, 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, or even 2 months, based on the reception of the people, within which you must have generated some amount of money, probably enough to write off the cost of production. So even before you begin to talk about releasing to DVD, you must have made your profit. So with that in mind, the mentality has changed and people are now spending more time to do quality films, because for the cinemas to accept a film, first of all, your sound needs to be on point. You need to shoot on a format that is cinema friendly. So those conditions, those criteria actually puts paid to haphazard productions. You get where I'm coming from? So the distribution has improved to some extent, has actually improved the quality of films. Now you can see people go walk into the cinemas and they actually get tickets to watch Nigerian films. So it's a tradition that is beginning to improve. The mentality is beginning to improve. Basically, what we need to actually get the industry standing on its feet is more private, public sector investment in that aspect.
Even before his first movie hits the theaters, Otu is already making plans to produce a second film, an action movie with a bigger budget and a more diverse cast.
My next movie, which I'm already working on, after the release of the Flatmate in the cinema soon, I'm already working on a second screenplay, which should feature a Hollywood collaboration, or which should be a Hollywood collaboration. I'm hoping to have someone from Hollywood feature in it and possibly collaborate with a Hollywood producer. So it's going to be a big budget film, yeah, because now I have the bragging rights. I've done something that was success. I have a bragging right to say I've done something. I have, like they call it in law, what's that word again? Precedent? Yeah, they can see my precedent, and so I'm actually working on the second screenplay, which is going to be a collaboration with some Hollywood players, and I'll take it up from there. This is actually action, yeah. Like I said, first of all, you need to build that. You need to build the experience. Then you need the funds, and you need the mind, and you need that drive. Because trust me, doing an action film in Nigeria is not child's play. Except you want to do one of those things that we've seen in the past, where you go to use real police guns, and the fire is actually some very funny, what's it called, kidnapping visual effects. You actually need to use real stunt prop guns, So I'm looking at that level of action movies where it can be premiered in America, it can be in American cinemas, and they wouldn't see it as a movie done by a Nigerian. they wouldn't see it as another Nigerian film, like they say, Nigerian film, quote unquote. They would actually see it as a film done by a Nigerian filmmaker. As I like to address myself, I'm a filmmaker of Nigerian descent, not a Nigerian filmmaker. Because when you say, oh, and sorry, you just really have to forgive me, because sometimes when I go out and I introduce myself and say, hi, my name is Otu Njama and I'm a filmmaker, they say, what kind of films do you do? Do you do Nigerian films or? And I begin to wonder, when you say Nigerian films or, what exactly does that mean? You know, so that goes to show you that some of my colleagues or some people have actually stereotyped us into a certain place. They've actually put us in a certain box where people now see Nigerian films as low, as substandard to the foreign, you know, to our foreign counterparts. And they actually think the movie is substandard, not because of the quality, not because of the time or the quality or the expertise put into it, but because we are typically Nigerians. That is why our films are substandard. So I actually want to change that mentality, that a Nigerian can actually make a film that gets nominated in the Oscars.
Otu has the following advice for first-time entrants into the industry.
For those trying to come into the Nigeria entertainment industry, it's a very broad spectrum. It's very broad. First of all, you need to know exactly what you're best suited for. Like Plato will say, you don't put round pegs in square holes. You need to know your onions. The worst form of deceit is to lie to yourself. You need to know exactly your talent and your capabilities. Don't just think because people in the entertainment industry are blowing, quote and unquote, or they're making it big and driving fancy cars, you think it's all rosy. Trust me, there are so many of them who've been in the same industry for a decade and they've not been able to establish themselves. Not because they don't really have luck, but probably it might not exactly be their field. They probably would be better off doing white-collar jobs. They probably would be better off in the more formal industry. You know, but they probably were misled to believe it was, or it's actually easy because of the way they see other people doing it. So first of all, you need to recognize your true gift and your true talent. I did recognize my true gift and my true talent, and despite all the odds and all the obstacles, I scaled through. So when you recognize your talent, when you recognize your talents, you have the will. And where there's a will, there's always a way. So first things first, recognize your talent, recognize where you're best suited for, and go straight to it without dilly-dallying. Hit it hard on the head. Stick to it. Keep hitting it. And certainly, after a while, you will definitely break through.
Otu Njama III is a young filmmaker determined to make his mark in the world of filmmaking. He intends to use Nigeria as a springboard for global success.
Hello everybody, I am Otu Njama III, writer, producer, director of the film The Flatmate. I'm a future force.